The following is a non-verdict-based research versus show. The stats of the individual characters are not taken into consideration when determining aspects of the fight. However, the characters themselves are going to be represented in their full capacity outside of power scaling. This is Versus Universe. The power of destiny is immense, bringing together many people who would otherwise be mere strangers to each other. However, some view fate as theirs and theirs alone, and anyone who should defy that fate will meet their wrath. All the while conniving and plotting to ensure that destiny is never left to chance. Ganondorf, the Menace Unleashed and Demon King from The Legend of Zelda, and Xehanort, the Keyblade Master and Darkseeker from Kingdom Hearts. Let's begin. Long ago, 3 golden goddesses came into existence. These would be Din, Nehru, and Furore. Din created the world, whilst Nehru gave it order and Furore created its inhabitants. Their job complete, they floated away to somewhere far beyond the newly created Hyrule, but not before creating a powerful artifact. That of the Triforce. These 3 golden triangles, when all put together, will create a powerful magic so great that it could grant any wish the person who touches it desires. However, the artifact was sealed away in an unusual fashion, inside 3 certain people. These people were the hero, Link, who would take the Triforce of Courage, the princess, Zelda, who would take the Triforce of Wisdom, and the Triforce of Power would go to the Demon King, Ganondorf. You see, the first ever incarnations of the hero and the princess met this ugly son of a gun named Demise. He, after being a bit salty that he lost against this, let's face it, twink, placed a curse upon everybody who was present there, that they all would be reincarnated into a cycle that could never be broken. After Demise's defeat to the Master Sword, the Blade of Evil's Bane, his curse was put into effect. Fast forward many centuries, and Hyrule is completely different to how it once was. A new race native to the desert, the Gerudo, typically only bear female offspring. However, once every 100 years there is an exception to this rule, and a singular male Gerudo is born. And this Gerudo is Ganondorf, the reincarnation of Demise. Growing up in the Gerudo Desert, Ganondorf was quickly named the Gerudo King, because that's how it works, I guess. I don't know. I think sole male in 100 years becomes king automatically feels pretty rude to a society filled with strong women. But he became a friend to the King of Hyrule, as a front for his evil plans. See, Ganondorf was basically born a bastard, evil from day one. It didn't help that his surrogate mothers were Kome and Kitake, evil witches with incredible magic power. He bided his time to strike against the King of Hyrule, and although the reincarnation of the princess caught on to his schemes, since she was a child, her dad probably just thought she was racist because of the Gerudo or something and didn't listen to her. Joke's on him though, Ganondorf was just waiting for one thing in particular, for this version of Link to unseal the Master Sword. This undid a spell from the past that locked the Sacred Realm, where the true Triforce lay hidden from the world. Using its power, Ganondorf sent the world into chaos, laying curses and hexes upon every single inch of Hyrule he could find. Except for the Gerudo Desert, because he just likes his home that much, I guess. But eventually, after 7 years of his rule, the hero Link came to challenge him, and Ganondorf is no slouch when it comes to combat. Ganondorf is a known practitioner of magic, taught to him by Kome and Kitake. He can create a ball of pure energy that can only be deflected by the finest of blades. Or a glass bottle. He can also float in the air for what seems like forever, and create a devastating shockwave that destroyed parts of this arena where he fought Link. In addition to those immediate skills in magic, he can also create a limited clone of himself he dubbed Phantom Ganon. While it isn't nearly as powerful as the real deal, it can still be a thorn in the hero's side to take down. He is also a skilled swordsman in his own right. As a matter of fact, he has experience in nearly every kind of sword there is. Dual swords, one-handed swords, two-handed swords, trident swords. Okay, those are actually just called tridents, but he can fuck you up with them all the same. He is so skilled with these weapons, he can one-for-one match pretty much every incarnation of the hero in sheer swordplay blow for blow. But these abilities become even more powerful when Ganondorf calls upon the Triforce of Power. If he was powerful before, he becomes nigh unstoppable when fully utilizing the power of the Triforce. He created a blast so powerful, it caused Hyrule Castle to collapse in on itself, as well as creating a barrier around the castle so impenetrable that it took the full might of an ancient artifact comparable to the Triforce to break through it. All of this on top of his general use of dark magic, and you have yourself one tough combatant for the hero. But Ganondorf is not just a warlock king, he is also the Demon King. By fully tapping into the Triforce of Power, Ganondorf can wake the beast inside of him, turning into a warlike man who towers over all in his wake. He is no longer Ganondorf in this state. He is Ganon. While in his Ganon form, he usually dons some form of trident as his primary weapon. The form does not reduce his intelligence in any way, and instead just makes the cunning Ganondorf all the more powerful. He's also a bigger target with a far more obvious weak spot, but you have to take the good with the bad. You'd think these powers would serve Ganondorf well to take over Hyrule, and while he had some short-form success, the Hero of Time made sure that the evil king's reign would not last more than 7 measly years. It's just the method to which he does this that is a bit controversial. Because it's actually 2 methods. Yep, it's a multiverse, I guess. Link either went back in time to warn Zelda about Ganondorf prematurely, or stayed in the future after defeating Ganon. Or Link died horribly in their fight, but we're not talking about that timeline today. Actually, regardless of the outcome of their fight, Ganondorf lived on in some way. In the timeline where he got stabbed in the head, he just got better, I guess, and started wrecking shit anew. And in the timeline where Kid Link tattled on him, he got banished to the fucking shadow dimension and bid his time until he found a pupil he could corrupt with his power. Really putting the Warlock in Warlock King when you actually have a patron. However, as determined by the cursed cycle put in place by Demise, both the Hero of Winds and the Hero of Twilight vanquished their respective Ganondorfs. One getting another stab to the old noggin, and the other, well, actually the dude Ganondorf was gaslighting was the one to Deep Six him. I suppose we can talk about that now. The fact that some people really believe that Ganondorf can only be killed by holy weapons, and like, no. Zan is maybe the furthest thing from holy there is, and he just fucking murked the guy. Ganondorf just has a weakness to holy weaponry like the Master Sword. It's not the only thing that can kill him, because, you know, next snap. Also, I'm sorry, I'll get back and try after this, but Ganondorf goes out like a fucking champ here, refusing to kneel down to anyone. He fucking keeps standing while actively dying. That shit's metal as all hell. But in an era far beyond, or before, or during Demise, guys, it's really unclear with the Breath of the Wild if it all takes place concretely within the timeline. Anyway, in an era that certainly is somewhere here, there exists another land, another Hyrule. This land held many races and people across its vast borders, from the Gorons, to the Rito, to the Zora, to even the ancient Zonai. However, this world was also home to, you guessed it, the Gerudo. And where there are Gerudo, there is also Ganondorf. Ganondorf was one of the most impressive people to ever grace Hyrule in its golden age. He was an expert in every single weapon type, and commanded a great army of elite Gerudo warriors to usurp the throne of Rauru, the king of Hyrule. However, he found the man's power far too great, and yielded to Rauru publicly while plotting and planning a coup. You see, Rauru, his wife Sonia, his sister Minoru, the time-traveling Zelda, don't ask, and the 4 sages of each major race in Hyrule all possess something they called secret stones. These Zonai artifacts enhance the powers of the user to such a significant degree that old Rauru over here could do a Kikoho so big that it destroyed these creatures called Moldugas. And those guys suck, so thanks Rauru. And so, Ganondorf decided to create a plan so devastatingly evil, it would work, no matter what. Identity theft. Except, what do you know, it actually did something. In the confusion of the moment, Ganondorf straight up killed Sonia by stabbing her in the back, taking the secret stone she possessed for himself. As he took it, the stone modified itself to fit his personality. He had taken on the secret stone of darkness. As it befit itself to his head, including giving him a cute little crown, he was no longer merely Ganondorf. He had become the Demon King. With his powers amplified by the stone, he laid siege to the entire kingdom, spawning monster after monster in his wake. In a full-stop attack against Ganondorf, everybody and their mother was there, and they kinda got their fucking shit stomped on them. Ganondorf was a master of the secret stone after all, and his power was far too great for anyone there to deal with properly. So, Rauru pulled this insane move out of nowhere after the rest of the sages distracted him, except Minoru, good job Minoru, and sealed him away in the depths of Hyrule Castle for 10,000 years. But not before delivering a warning to the Demon King, that many years from now, a swordsman named Link would come and defeat him once and for all. Ganondorf seemed intrigued at the idea because he likes fighting now. That's like a character trait they gave him. But because of the whole imprisonment thing, he was put on semi-permanent timeout. That is, until a fucking long time later, once again, an incarnation of the hero and the princess met Ganondorf. However, he was unimpressed with this, let's say it together class, twink, and shot a fuck you blast at him with his powers of gloom. We're going to talk about it here in a minute, don't you worry. And completely shattered the Master Sword. Fucking wicked. Disappointed in the hero's strength, Ganondorf waited underneath Hyrule Castle as he had before, sending out a puppet of Zelda to wreak havoc on Hyrule at large. However, once Link had solved all of the regional phenomena, it was time for the two to meet once more. Except, this time Link was prepared. The Master Sword had been repaired, just in time to match the menace unleashed. Still dehydrated, Ganondorf used his secret stone to juice himself up on Gatorade, and only now could the true final battle begin. But Ganondorf would be no pushover for the hero. No. He would be the final check of this hero's unwavering strength and resolve, and he had plenty of tricks to help him cut Link down. This Ganondorf took after his other counterparts in one major regard, his love of swordplay. And now he has his own cool weapons to help with that. Much like Link, Ganondorf is proficient in one-handed weapons, two-handed weapons, spears, and bows, and he has a weapon for each of the weapon types just listed. The Gloom Sword, Gloom Club, and Gloom Spear all normally would inflict damage on the user, but because Ganondorf is just the man, it doesn't do shit to him. The Demon King's bow does more damage the higher the user's health is, so if Ganondorf has taken any damage, it becomes a lot less useful. However, he can inflict all of these weapons with a substance born from this innate malice, his gloom. This is Ganondorf's main method of magic this time around, and it was so powerful that it literally destroyed the fucking Master Sword. All gloom stems from Ganondorf, which is impressive because it's all over Hyrule. And he's just chilling in the center of the world in Hyrule Castle all this time, meaning he literally spread gloom all over Hyrule from top to bottom from the very middle of the world. He may not know what the Triforce is, but he still is fucking powerful, and that's just his magic. He's also still a world-class warrior. Let me put it in perspective. Link here is fucking crazy. He can defeat what is essentially a lion centaur with nothing but a sword, no shield necessary, and Ganondorf can match him and then some. He even can perform a flurry rush while dodging his opponent's attack at just the right time, just like Link can. What's more, he can switch out what weapon he's using on the fly, and when he starts to get serious, he'll combo these weapons together. He'll also decide to break the fourth wall and make his health bar extend past the center of the screen, and I can ignore my OCD just taking the off how fucking cool that is. Here, he taps into all the power of the Secret Stone to fully combat Link and the new sages, who by the way, are here, and goes all out. He summons phantom clones of himself to fight both Link and the sages, all of them appearing to function autonomously from the main unit. However, even all these powers were not enough to best the hero this time. So, Ganondorf decided to do something kind of crazy. You see, long ago there was a process involving one eating their secret stone to become an immortal dragon, losing all of their sense of self. When draconified, they would only be driven by the last thought to enter their mind, and that would drive their existence. However, this act was forbidden, and no one had undertook it for centuries upon centuries. But Ganondorf being Ganondorf, he decided that enough was enough. He violently took the secret stone from his head, gobbled it up, and cast aside his humanity to become the Demon Dragon. In this form, Ganondorf is nearly unstoppable, being impervious to damage by normal means. However, the reconstituted Master Sword and its wielder, Link, were able to damage it enough to where it showed its real weak point, the secret stone that empowered it. After a few slashes from the Blade of Evil's Bane, the Demon Dragon recoiled in its apparent demise, and then, exploded? Also, there was another dragon there too. Weird. But all that is to say, even when divorced of his mind and body, there is but one thing that Ganondorf Dragmire embodies. Power, and power alone.
Do not look away. You witness a king's revival. And the birth of his new world.
Long ago, there existed an age of fairy tales. There was relative peace and harmony amongst everyone in the world, and everything was great. That is, until these 5 jabronis indoctrinated a bunch of children to fight for them in a war. This would be the end of fairy tales. The end of the world. That's with a capital W, by the way. Lost in what would become to be known as the Keyblade War. And what's more, not only was life lost, but the thing that gave the world light itself was lost. Kingdom Hearts. And Kingdom Hearts' protector, the Keyblade, was split into 20 fragments, 7 of light and 13 of darkness. Luckily, not everyone died in the aftermath of this war. In fact, 5 other jabronis were specifically chosen not to die. These survivors of the Keyblade War built a town so that they could keep training Keyblade wielders. The town of Skye at Kylam. Long after the initial war's end, a baby was born in Skye to an unknown mother. This baby would be Xehanort. Xehanort was quickly transplanted elsewhere, however, as the residents of Skye believed him to be what they called the Child of Destiny, that would one day save the world from an immense darkness prophesied to destroy everything. Xehanort was actually raised on the Destiny Islands by this cloaked figure, who was the main protagonist of the previous mobile game. Yeah, they're plot important. You gotta deal with it. During his time on the island, Xehanort often dreamed of those jabronis I talked about, for some reason. Well, I mean, part of the reason is that he's the distant descendant of one of them, this dude Ephemer, but you know, whatever. Regardless, the things he saw piqued his curiosity to an enormous degree, and by the time he was a teenager he was looking toward his future while his mentor fucking died. He had to know who these people were in his dreams, and what they did. He was sent to Skye at Kylam once more, and trained under Master Odin with a bunch of fucking people, but specifically this dude named Ericus. See, Xehanort and Ericus got along great. Like, a little too great, like, destined to be tied to each other forever great. But it was here where Xehanort truly learned to hone the craft of wielding a Keyblade, and then some. So what are Keyblades, anyway? Loaded question, I know. Well, put simply, they are weapons manifested by one's own heart. They are magic in nature, the user being able to summon and unsummon their Keyblade at will. And, you know, they act as blades. Kinda obvious, but I'm trying to be thorough. What's more, Keyblades act as a conduit for a ton of magic-based spells, including your basic elemental fire, blizzard, and thunder magic. But they also have a capacity for much wackier spells, like Gravity, which forces opponents to the ground, or Reflect, which takes their opponent's attack and dishes it back out of them tenfold. One of the more powerful spell types is the Stop spell, which when cast at a high enough level, can stop the entirety of time around the user. All magic spells vary in power based on their suffix, from none, to ra, to ga, to finally za. Also ja, but that's like barely in Kingdom Hearts, and most high-level magicians just cast za tier spells anyway. On top of all of this, they also act as magic keys, both literally, locking and opening doors, and more metaphysically, since Keyblade users are able to open and close pathways between worlds. Traveling to different worlds was actually part of Master Odin's training for Xehanort and his friends, as they were taught to defend the realm of light from encroaching darkness and keep balance. Except, to good old Nort over here, every single Keyblade wielder was just upholding a fool's notion, that light is greater than darkness and can snuff it out. When in actuality, the two are dependent on each other. They may not like each other very much, but one cannot exist without the other. Spotting this hypocrisy in his master's teaching, Xehanort openly accepted darkness, unlike all of his fellow classmates, including Ericus, who was a bit of a ride-or-die fan of light. One of their other classmates, Baldur, was having a bit of a hard time. He was killing people and he didn't really know why that's what was happening with him. In a confrontation in Skye at Kylam, Xehanort was the only one powerful enough to defeat Baldur once and for all. Except, Xehanort took it a step farther than just that. No, he also just fucking killed him on the spot. I mean, I get it. He murdered your friends, but what a fucking moment. About a month after that whole debacle, both Xehanort and Ericus took something called a Mark of Mastery exam. However, the rift between them due to this situation led them to gradually drift apart over time. Xehanort took on Odin's Keyblade, the No-Name, after reaching the rank of Master, and not much of importance happened for like a good 70 years after the fact, and we can finally be done with mobile games. Hooray! The people Xehanort had met in his dreams never truly left his mind, as he became a very old man. His curiosity still piqued after all this time. And after a meeting with an all-knowing mirror, Xehanort discovered a boy at the site of the ancient Keyblade War, the Keyblade Graveyard. This boy's name was Ventus, who indeed was one of the people from Xehanort's dreams. Except, now Xehanort was way older than this fucking guy. Xehanort took on Ventus as a pupil, and with Ven he had but one goal, to prepare his body. See, Xehanort, realizing he was very old at this point and still nowhere near achieving his life's ambitions, decided that the only reasonable course of action would be to essentially body snatch someone. And Ventus was just the guy to help him. Or he would be if Xehanort could extract any darkness from the boy. But alas, all of his attempts to stir the pot of darkness in Ventus had failed, so he decided to take a new approach. He would literally separate all of the darkness in his heart from all of the light. By the way, in this world, all hearts are normally made of a balance of light and darkness, the only exceptions being the princesses of heart, who all possess hearts of pure light. However, there was one more pure light in the world now, that darkness extracted from his heart, creating the being known as Vanitas. Ventus's heart was incredibly damaged, however, and sought refuge in a random boy who just so happened to be there at the time. I'm sure that won't be important later. Xehanort still trained Ventus, and even had a run-in with Ericus again. They still firmly disagreed with each other, and Xehanort even scarred the poor sop, but after another few years, things had settled down enough between the two that Xehanort was offered to come watch Ericus's pupils, Aqua and Terra, take their own Mark of Mastery exams. Also, on the grind set, however, Xehanort had a plan. He would test these pupils to see if he could manipulate the darkness in their hearts. And what do you know, it turns out Terra here had a big old case of the darknesses. Seizing this opportunity, Xehanort started to Nortlight, Nortkeep, and Nortboss his way into Terra's heart, stoking the darkness within. Ericus caught on to Xehanort's plans, not with Terra though, with Ventus. See, Xehanort surmised that a being of pure light clashing with a being of pure darkness would summon both the Chi-Blade and Kingdom Hearts, and he was right. Since Ventus was pure light and Vanitas pure darkness, if they ever collided fully in a battle, it would forge the Chi-Blade. Ericus saw all of this information, took a deep breath, and really decided with his whole ass that the best course of action would be to kill Ventus. Really revealing your hypocrisy there, Mr. "Oh, but Baldur's just a little guy." But who should show up to stop him but Terra, seeing this whole thing and not really liking it because he is smart. Everybody, Terra is not dumb. But he did fully succumb to the darkness within him to defeat Ericus, and the Keyblade Master seemingly died here. Well, no, he did die. Kind of. But not because of Terra. No. Ericus was actually struck down by his old friend, Xehanort. Yep, Xehanort literally killed the last remaining friend he had in his whole life just to make Terra upset. What a bastard. A veiny, bald bastard. He's not even naturally bald. He shaved his head to show his resolve. Fucking dork. But not only did he make Terra even more mad, he told him to seek himself out at a certain place, the Keyblade Graveyard, where Xehanort first discovered Ventus. The three heroes, bound by the Wayfinder, put up an enormous fight, each fighting their own fight. Terra against Xehanort, Ventus against Vanitas, and Aqua against Nemesis Bloodreich? Either way, Terra nearly defeated the old man, but being the bastard he is, he released his own heart via the No-Name, and put it inside Terra's body. Now that Terra's heart was cast out of the flesh of his body, Xehanort was victorious. Sure, the plan to summon Kingdom Hearts with Vanitas had failed, but this is the type of dude to have backup plans for his backup plans. He's on that Plankton Plan Z type beat. But surprisingly, the newly formed Terra Xehanort, we call him Terranort for short, was the remaining will of the man who got everything taken away from him. This was Terra's lingering will, and it fucking destroyed Terranort. It didn't kill him or anything, but it fucked him up so bad that the guy got amnesia, and after a meeting with Aqua and Radiant Garden, all three of the Wayfinders had their lives changed for the worse by Xehanort's influence. Ventus was forced into a long slumber after sacrificing his heart to defeat Vanitas. Aqua was left to wander a place called the Realm of Darkness alone for over 10 years. But at least Terra got to remain conscious and be actively not in hell. Granted, he was still going by Xehanort even after the fucking smackdown from Aqua, but still, his body was certainly around. Xehanort, not remembering anything of his past life as a Keyblade Master, was taken in by the King of Radiant Garden, a man named Ansem the Wise. Xehanort's curiosity from his youth was still ever present, as he became a scientist of the heart and all its functions under Ansem's tutelage. In particular, he studied beings called Heartless, creatures born of the innate darkness in a person's heart. Ansem had created many artificial Heartless dubbed Emblem Heartless. However, this was not enough for Xehanort. He had a suspicion, let's call it, about the Heartless. If a Heartless is the heart of a person tainted by darkness, what happens to their body? Well, he found out when one day he remembered how to summon the No-Name back in his hands, and release the hearts of everyone present at the Radiant Garden Research Lab except for Ansem the Wise. He then stated that he was no longer going by Xehanort. Instead, he would be referred to as Ansem, the Seeker of Darkness. He then stabbed himself a little bit later, and two beings were born that day, the aforementioned Ansem and his nobody, Xemnas. In their own ways, both Ansem and Xemnas try to carry out a portion of Xehanort's grand scheme. See, to summon Kingdom Hearts like old Nort here once, there needs to be two different things. There must both be 7 Hearts of Light and 13 Hearts of Darkness. These hearts must clash, creating the Kai Blade, and with it, Kingdom Hearts. Ansem, Xehanort's Heartless, attempted to gather 7 Pure Lights, the Princesses of Heart, and Xemnas, his Nobody, which is what the body of a Heartless leaves behind if a person is strong-willed enough, attempted to gather 13 Hearts of Darkness with a group that would come to be known as Organization 13. However, both of their attempts were thwarted, not by a Keyblade Master, but by a dull, ordinary boy hailing from the same islands as Xehanort. A boy by the name of Sora. This boy had a Keyblade of his own, the Key of the Realm of Light, the Kingdom Key. However, a truth was revealed in Ansem's and Xemnas' defeat. If a person's Heartless and Nobody are destroyed, they become recompleted, and get to live on anew. This, of course, meant that every single member of the original organization, who were all nobodies, were recompleted as whole beings, including Xehanort. Plans A and B not really working out, he instead opted for Plan C. Time travel. Yep, we're getting into this now, folks. So the time-traveling version of Xehanort from the past showed up, but not the Xehanort from when he was being taught. No, this dude is in his, 20s, and Student Nort is pretty safely in his teens. How he time-traveled, we don't need to get into too much, but basically, he traveled to the future as a heart and had a version of himself at his destination so he could do it. It's a long way of saying that Xehanort enlisted a younger version of himself as one of the new 13, he would call them. This is the real Organization 13. 13 people super stoked to be Xehanort's pawns in the Keyblade War. They all actually turned into Xehanort a little bit. You can tell because their eyes turn Xehanort's signature yellow, the same color eyes as the Heartless. However, this attempt to summon Kingdom Hearts would again be ineffective, as the organization sought after a particular person to take up their 13th chair, Sora himself. So they rescued him just in time to save him from becoming a Xehanort vessel. The mission to gather Xehanort's 13 Darknesses was ultimately a failure, as the other time-traveling hearts from the past, both Ansem and Xemnas respectively, had their time cut short. However, Xehanort promised that the next time they meet, they would summon Kingdom Hearts, and he threatened King Mickey to gather his 7 Guardians of Light and meet him at the Keyblade Graveyard once more. In the meantime, Xehanort would regroup his efforts at the Keyblade Graveyard himself, and discuss his new 13, those being his younger self from the past, Vanitas, a dark version of Sora's friend Riku who is possessed by Ansem, Terra Xehanort, Sykes, Marluxia, Larxene, Luxord, Xigbar, and Xemnas, all from the original organization, Ansem, a heart tied to Sora's named Xion, and Master Xehanort himself. And while that all was happening, Sora was going around various worlds attempting to undo some of the cruel fates given out by Xehanort, particularly Aqua and Ventus, the former no longer trapped in hell, and the latter finally waking the fuck up. Then, it finally came time for the true clash of 7 and 13, the second Keyblade War. After attempting to kill all of them without actually fighting them, Sora pulled a reverse Uno card and used time travel himself to rewrite the past. This undid one of the most prevalent prophecies of the age of fairy tales, that darkness would prevail and light would expire. And after Sora backwards long jumped his way through time and space so that everyone did not die, the 7 actually met the 13. There were 4 major battles inside the labyrinth that Xehanort created, which by the way, he can do that. He loves moving Earth, I don't really know why. In the 4 battles, the Guardians of Light had defeated 9 of the 13 Darknesses, and eventually, Sora, Riku, and King Mickey all reached the apex of the Skyne of Severance, and were met by young Xehanort, Xemnas, and Ansem, Seeker of Darkness. Defeating all 3 of them once again, Xehanort himself was just 1 key short of attaining his goal. So he found the nearest female and killed her. Why'd you do that? I don't mean Xehanort, I mean Nomura. I have not forgiven you for this. With 13 clashes of light and darkness complete, Xehanort had finally, truly, achieved his life's ambition. He had summoned a true Kingdom Hearts, and along with it, the Chi Blade. But the good guys figured out that they could trap him in the memory of a place from his past, and it turns out that place was essentially his home, the land of Skye at Kylum. Here, he donned a set of Keyblade armor and attempted to defeat the boy who set foot in this land along with two of his closest companions, Sora. However, after the boy defeated Xehanort in his armor, he revealed that even in this place built of memory, the connection Xehanort had endured throughout his entire life, even if most of the people who once cared for him were either long gone, against him at this point, or were versions of himself, still remained true. He, once again, summoned both Kingdom Hearts and the Keyblade for one final showdown to prove himself right. Here, he used the full might of the Keyblade to deal with Sora once and for all, including teleportation using keyholes. That sounds wrong, but it's what is happening on screen right now. He also combined the Keyblade with his propensity for magic, comboing Sora into oblivion with fire, blizzard, and thunder magic. He even tapped into the full might of Kingdom Hearts and sapped Sora of all of his light, leaving him an empty husk of darkness that needed to attack Xehanort to regain his lost light. And this move, which is nuts, absolutely fucking bonkers even. But even with the power of Kingdom Hearts, in the end, Xehanort was overpowered by the one thing he cast aside when he was a boy, a powerful bond of friendship. Defeated, he lamented that he was unable to accomplish his true goal, a purge of the world, again with a capital W, leaving behind what he perceived as the embellishment of light and ushering in a new age of order and stability. However, he was proven wrong by the simple fact that everybody's kind of fucking happy in the current world, ya dingus, and so he ascended, finally truly dead after being defeated by Sora, both in an actual fight and with raw facts and logic. But the ideas and actions of Xehanort still persist to this day, even if the guy himself is no longer around. The damage he's caused will be ever present in everyone he's ever met, because that's the kind of person he was. That was the kind of heart he had. One of pure, unfiltered darkness. And that was the role he was born to play, ruining these people's lives to further his goals. In a way, the man on Destiny Islands was not wrong about Xehanort. He had a profound impact on the world at large. However, his time is now done, and everyone can now move on past him. That was his destiny, and destiny is never left to chance.
There is one Skye, one destiny.
We open to a shot of a gigantic temple in the Gerudo Desert, the structure appearing foreign in architecture to the rest of the place. This is because the man who made the palace was none other than Xehanort, who used his ability to manipulate the earth to create this decadent place. Approaching the palace without caution is Ganondorf, who appears at the front gates, ready to make his move.
I know you're there. Show yourself, coward.
Xehanort then steps out on a balcony, far above where Ganondorf is situated at the temple's front gates. He speaks.
I was expecting someone else. Leave now, and I won't harm you.
Ganondorf gets annoyed at how little of a threat Xehanort perceives him as. He then brandishes his gloom sword from his sheath.
You stand before Ganondorf, the Demon King.
Ganondorf then raises the gloom sword up, directly pointing at the Keyblade Master.
I've heard you can harness the very moon itself. I have come to claim that power for my own.
Realizing the severity of his words, Xehanort begins to more cautiously approach the situation. He jumps down to meet Ganondorf face to face, and although he is smaller than the Gerudo, he tries his best to intimidate the man.
Perhaps that is, if you survive that long.
Xehanort then brandishes the no-name Keyblade and strikes against Ganondorf, who raises his own blade to block the attack. The resulting shockwave sends dust and random debris scattering around them as the two adjust to the other's level of power.
Rise!
As he says that, a gigantic pillar springs up from the earth and raises Ganondorf high into the air. He wasn't expecting such an attack in any way, shape, or form, so he gets hit right in the gut and takes a fair amount of damage before getting back up. Regaining his bearings, he then jumps off the pillar, which is still rising into the stratosphere, and lunges his gloom sword straight down towards Xehanort.
Fall!
Xehanort then barely blocks the blow with no name, but there was enough force put into it to indent the ground Xehanort was standing on. As the ground of the temple he built cracks underneath, Xehanort raises his keyblade high and shouts,
Come, darkness!
and summons a heap of darkness balls that launch into Ganondorf. He tries to parry some of them, but they keep bouncing right back to him. He then decides that the only thing to do is launch his own projectile, his gloom.
Foolish old man. Darkness is nothing compared to the power of malice!
Ganondorf then shoots out the gloom, similarly to how Xehanort did, and every single one of his shots not only obliterates the darkness spell Xehanort cast, but launches onto the man as well. He is momentarily stunned until he thinks to use a cure spell on himself. However, this leaves him momentarily unable to use magic. And despite not being able to know this, Ganondorf Primal senses an opening in Xehanort and takes this opportunity to clash blades once again. As he does, he studies the no-name carefully and decides to taunt Xehanort about it.
You think you can contain my power with that blade? It is nothing compared to the sword that seals the darkness.
What a fool you are! You know nothing of the power of the Keyblade or connections.
Before Xehanort can launch an attack, Ganondorf thinks to himself.
So these weapons are called Keyblades. Interesting.
Once that thought is ended, Xehanort tries to enact a 3-hit combo on Ganondorf, but being as lithe and agile as he is, the string of hits does nothing. In fact, he backflips to dodge the last one and comes back with his own flurry of blows, devastating the Keyblade Master.
Too obvious. Perish!
One last sword strike befalls Xehanort, who then falls to the ground. But before he can get back up, he notices a sharp object pointed squarely at his throat. However, this blade appeared white and sage-like to Xehanort, not at all like the weapon Ganondorf was using previously.
You... How? What is this?
You noticed, did you? It would be hard not to. This blade was once gifted to me, after I snuffed out the sage who owned its life. I will be happy to do the same to you!
Ganondorf then tries to slit Xehanort's throat, but the Keyblade Master pulls out a spell just in the nick of time to save his life.
Deep freeze!
Ganondorf stands there, frozen solid, unable to move for a few quick seconds. Luckily, those seconds are all that Xehanort needs to do some damage. He then calls upon multiple bursts of fire spells to unfreeze Ganondorf while still doing damage, but before he can get his bearings back from the fire damage,
Thunder!
lightning strikes the Demon King, leaving him stumbling about in a stupor for a few seconds before regaining his footing and talking to the Keyblade Master.
Alright, you're not a complete failure. I may just enjoy myself yet.
As he says these words, a smile ever so slightly creeps on the right side of his face, but it doesn't stay for long.
Yes, I can't say this hasn't been invigorating, if anything.
You do put up a fight for someone of your age. Tell me your name.
Xehanort remains quiet for a second, before deciding to speak.
If you must know, Demon King, you may call me Master Xehanort.
Xehanort. I very much am looking forward to the rest of this encounter.
But as Ganondorf readies himself to lunge at Xehanort yet again, a new person arrives from the inside of the temple, the younger time-traveling variant of Xehanort.
I heard fighting. Are they here?
No, they are not. I have been entertaining this unwanted guest for quite some time now.
Foolish man. Step away from here and we won't destroy you.
Ganondorf takes a second to think before responding.
You and what army?
Suddenly, springing from Ganondorf's secret stone, members of all various shapes and sizes come to life. Bokoblins, Moblins, Horriblins, Stalfos, Keese, and all other manner of creature take root at the temple gates alongside their master.
No matter. A pawn must be met with a pawn.
Xehanort then summons his own army of creatures of darkness. 1,000 variants of Heartless swarm out from the gates of the temple, and even a few nobodies make their way into the mix. The two armies seem evenly matched, and both leaders seem to notice this, so they decide to add a bit of a surprise for the other side.
Go, my younger self!
They won't stand a chance.
Armed without a Keyblade, since the current Xehanort was using No Name, the younger Xehanort summoned 2 ethereal blades and began slaughtering the forces of malice. Meeting him in kind, Ganondorf responds with a trick of his own.
Go, my phantom self.
Then, 5 Phantom Ganons appear on the front lines, right in the way of young Xehanort. The two clash, and they seem evenly matched in their current state. As that happens, the two masterminds also begin clashing again, the No Name against the Sagesaur. With each successive strike, the two go higher and higher into the air, until all of a sudden they had reached above the clouds. Taking a moment of respite to pause and gaze at the scenery, Xehanort creates a platform for them both to stand on while they fight.
I swore I would survive to see the end of the Keyblade War. I will not die here. Not yet.
If you wish for war, look no further. Come, Xehanort!
But before Ganondorf can lunge forward and ready his attacks, he notices a change in Xehanort. A bright light envelops the Gerudo King's vision, and all of a sudden, Xehanort is donning his Keyblade armor, alongside his no-name Keyblade materializing into his right hand. Alongside that blade, 11 others swirl behind him, representing the clashes of light and darkness that happened prior to Ganondorf arriving here. The Demon King sees this all happening and decides to retort with the power-up of his own.
You plan to trifle me with this nonsense? Fine, I will show you. True power. I have not even begun to near my limits. Xehanort!
Ganondorf then screams violently as he lets the secret stone atop his head amplify his power, letting loose his hair in perfect spirals and enhancing his physique. Alongside this, his Sage's sword dissipates, and instead, he holds a Gloom Spear.
Please.
Xehanort then moves in at supersonic speeds towards where Ganondorf was standing on the platform and clashes against his spear, the material nearly breaking at the sheer intensity of Xehanort's swing. However, the Demon King amplifies the spear with gloom and swings it back, hardened at the Keyblade Master, who narrowly avoids the blow. Ganondorf then sends shockwaves of gloom cascading towards Xehanort, who is floating in the air. This causes him to effortlessly dodge all of them, save for one, which Ganondorf aimed specifically so that if he dodged the shot prior, he would get hit with that blast. The gloom affects his armor in the same way acid would, chipping away at it and leaving a small opening, right where Xehanort's right lung is. Realizing that he can summon magic similar to Xehanort, Ganondorf speaks.
You think that magic is your domain? I will show you why I was once named the Warlock King.
Now, floating up in the air to meet Xehanort, Ganondorf knocks him back down to the platform Xehanort created by summoning his Gloom Club and smacking him on the head, sending him tumbling down. The Demon King then creates a ball of light the size of a small meteor, increasing in size ever so slightly after each passing second, and throbbing like the beat of the heart. The attack is launched squarely at Xehanort, who then takes his Keyblade out and deflects it back at Ganondorf. Ganondorf then deflects it right back, and this back and forth goes on for what might be thousands of times, as the ball's acceleration increases with each consecutive deflection. Eventually, the ball does find a target. Xehanort fails to deflect the ball in time, sending him tumbling downward into the sky below. However, he takes the blast in stride and gets back up to the platform in the air, seemingly unaffected.
Pesky alien. A mere mortal will not stand in my way.
So blind. Then I will make you see. Behold, the power of a master!
As he says that, Xehanort summons 11 flaming meteors to come crashing down at Ganondorf. Not only that, but he also sends one of the no-names from the clashes of light and darkness into each of them as well, making them explode upon impact. However, before these meteors can even touch the ground Ganondorf is standing on, he does something.
Please, those toys are too much for you.
He then summons the Demon King's bow and infuses his shots with gloom before firing at every single meteor Xehanort had summoned, hitting the no-name Keyblades inside them with the precision of a bullseye. They all explode in the vicinity of Xehanort, who, in the aftermath of the explosion, gets rocketed back towards the ground and grovels at the feet of Ganondorf, his armor completely destroyed beyond repair.
I swore I would take your blade. It will help me reshape this world into what it was meant to be. But not before I have crushed my opposition. I will rule this world. That is what a king must do.
Ganondorf then picks Xehanort off the ground and begins to choke him, the musculature of the Gerudo King's body pulsating violently through his arm as he suffocates the Keyblade Master. But before Ganondorf can finish the deed, a brilliant white light envelops them both as the fight below them makes itself apparent once more. Looking down where he can, Xehanort notices that his younger self had been slain by the Phantom Ganon. The final no-name then comes to float behind him as he smirks while still being choked.
There. Do you see?
Ganondorf reluctantly turns around to find a beam of light that wasn't there previously.
What is this?
Xehanort ignores Ganondorf, who instinctually lets go of his chokehold to perceive this blinding light.
I have done it. Finally, after all these years. It is mine!
The 12 keys surrounding him dissipate into light as they join to form the Chi Blade in his hands.
Come. Kingdom Hearts!
As he says that, he shoots a key beam out of the top of the Chi Blade, parting through whatever clouds may be atop the platform they are both still situated on. When the beam reaches past the world they both reside, it forms a new structure foreign to Ganondorf. It forms Kingdom Hearts.
That's it. The moon! If I can get my hands on that weapon, I will become nigh unstoppable.
Ganondorf gathers his bearings once again, unsummoning his monsters that were still fighting below so that he can focus solely on the target in front of him.
Do not think that this ends here and now, Xehanort. This war shall end with death, and death alone!
Ganondorf then lunges through the sky at Xehanort, summoning his Gloom Sword once again, but the attack is blocked easily by Xehanort in the power of the Chi Blade.
Is this truly how you handle the blade, Demon King? How the wielders weep for you!
Xehanort then swipes and attacks at Ganondorf, who narrowly avoids the incoming slash. However, part of his torso does get scarred from the sharp edge of the Chi Blade. Ganondorf retorts against Xehanort's assumption.
This power! It's comparable to my own! Yes, I can feel it. The blood surging in my veins, the sweat upon my brow. I have missed this feeling while I bided my time, but now, this is a true fight! A fight to the death! Come, Xehanort! Either grant me the warrior's death I crave, or prepare to be part of one yourself!
Ganondorf then sends a wave of malice Xehanort's way, but the Keyblade Master now swats it away with the Chi Blade's magical potential.
Know this, Demon King. I plan for every eventuality, and in all of them, I only see myself walking out of here alive.
Ganondorf then tries his hardest to land a single blow on Xehanort, but unfortunately, the speed and power of the Master, amplified by Kingdom Hearts, is too great, leaving the Demon King exhausted. Xehanort responds in kind by gathering energy into summoned cannons that volley light Ganondorf's way, and the velocity of these attacks deals significant damage to the Demon King. This does not deter Ganondorf, however, as the entire time he is trying to kill Xehanort, the Gerudo King has a smirk on his face, and with each passing swing, the smirk grows wider and wider until finally he cackles as he attempts to strike Xehanort.
He has truly lost himself. I shall end his reign now.
Xehanort then readies a key beam to penetrate Ganon's head, but as he does, he notices something else. On the platform he made, below him, sit 3 golden triangles.
It can't be!
It seems the gods have smiled upon me once more!
I've read about it in the texts of this world. The Triforce? How is it here?
Perhaps someone have set the balance of light and dark in this world. But no matter. I everything I've ever wanted right in front of me. And I will take it now.
He cannot wish for what I think he will. I will have to wish against him.
The two Masters of Darkness rush towards the Triforce, both using their entire power to speedily breach that destination. However, they find themselves at a tie and reach the Triforce simultaneously. As they both touch the Triforce of power to ask for their wish, they shout unto the heavens, and any gods listening their desires laid bare in nothing but 4 words they sang in unison.
I wish to rule!
Suddenly, the world around them vanishes into nothing but a black void, and they both see endless stars and planets shoot across them, as it would appear they are traveling at speeds far greater than that of sound to reach a new destination. What that destination is, neither of them know. When they finally slow down, they both open their eyes, as they had shut them to not overstimulate themselves. The land around them is foreign to Ganondorf, but not to Xehanort. He has landed in the Destiny Islands.
How? Why?
What is this?
Why are we here? Where my journey began? What could possibly be the meaning of this? Why did that wish take us here, of all places?
We are at your home in another world.
It makes no sense. I wish to rule, not to be sent back to where I started. What is the meaning of this?
Hyrule is gone.
I need to leave here immediately.
Xehanort tries summoning a dark corridor, but it does not work where he is.
Why isn't this working?
Gone. Gone.
Huh?
All I have, all I had, was my rule, my duty as king. Now I have nothing. Hyrule is gone, possibly forever, and I am stuck here with you.
Xehanort cannot help himself from finding the situation amusing, and so retorts with a bit of a chuckle.
I could die of laughter. I am sure that in due time, we will find a way out of here.
How could you possibly know that?
Because, Demon King, destiny is never left to chance. I still have a role to play, and destiny will make sure I play it.
Ganondorf begins to slowly cackle once again, this time seemingly madly.
I do not care about fate or destiny. I care about one thing and one thing alone. My rule. And you took that away from me. So I will take everything away from you.
Ganondorf then removes the secret stone from his hand and holds it up mightily in his palm.
What are you?
Ganondorf ignores Xehanort's inquisitiveness and proceeds to scream out.
Take it all. My mind, my body. Everything. I will sacrifice it all to destroy you. The man who took away my purpose. You will perish. Xehanort!
Ganondorf then forces the secret stone in his palm down his throat, swallowing it whole. His whole body begins to transform, his eyes becoming slitted and a draconic form suddenly emerging from a swirl of gloom surrounding him. In a burst of red and purple energy, the Demon King, who once stood tall, who once had thoughts and a mind of his own, vanishes, and in his place floats the Demon Dragon, completely oblivious to all of the factors that made him. The only thing permeating through the mind of this true beast is one sole impulse: destroy the man who took everything away from you. Destroy Xehanort. The man who this dragon has sworn vengeance against looks on at this display, the dragon in question beginning to float upwards until he reaches the stratosphere once again. Disparate people from all across this strange land notice the dragon's presence, one on an island, one in a plain, one in a tournament ring, and several from the comfort of indoors. However, the man whose reaction matters the most to this is Xehanort, who begins to speak up.
Can you understand me, Demon King?
The demon dragon simply roars in response.
It would appear not, but listen to my words all the same. I know destiny, I know fate. Your fate was never to rule the people who so wish to. Your fate was to die here by my hand. You see, Ganondorf, we all share the same sky. There is one sky, one destiny!
As he says those last 4 words, Kingdom Hearts reappears inside this weird dimension they both find themselves in, and anybody who is not looking at the dragon was certainly looking now that a gigantic heart-shaped moon appeared out of nowhere in the sky. Kingdom Hearts, however, actually gets tainted by Ganondorf's gloom nearly instantaneously, turning the bottom of the heart into a sickly, blood-hued crimson. They are bathed in the light of Kingdom Hearts and malice. They are underneath the Crimson Moon.
You have grown more powerful in this state. Affecting Kingdom Hearts itself is no small feat. However, you will now perish.
The demon dragon roars in response, readying to charge headfirst at the Keyblade Master. As it rushes forward, it skewers Xehanort on its snout and sends him flying into the sea of the Destiny Islands. Xehanort quickly regains his composure, walking on the water while calmly studying his enemy. He then notices splotches of glue that seem susceptible to damage and begins to target those floating upwards once again to meet the dragon in the sky.
Judgment!
Suddenly, a massive emittance of light magic comes shooting out of the Keyblade, aimed directly at the weak spots of the demon dragon's body. While the Demon King would surely be of sound enough mind to dodge these attacks, the demon dragon is not, and suddenly it looks as if the draconified Ganondorf is on its last legs. However, not to be outdone, the demon dragon emits its own balls of malice and gloom, which fire at intense speeds towards the Keyblade Master. The sheer power of these blasts, enhanced with the full might of the Secret Stone, are no matches for Xehanort, who now finds himself in similar state of wariness to the demon dragon.
We are both nearing our end, it seems.
The demon dragon bellows mightily.
Very well. It ends here and now.
The two rush at each other with such an intense speed that to any observer, they would appear as blurs, and they both use the remainder of whatever strength they have left to completely and totally eviscerate their opposition. In the end, however, it is Xehanort who appears victorious. He launches the Keyblade into the secret stone atop the demon dragon's head, and the latter convulses into pain and suffering. It lets out one last wail of a cry, one last bellowing roar, one last reminder of the man who this once was. However, the roar is overshadowed by the demon dragon exploding, with the Keyblade still lodged in its head. Both Ganondorf Dragmire and the Keyblade are lost in the ensuing explosion. The entire sky clears of its crimson hue, going back to a clear and crystal blue. Kingdom Hearts as well dissipates, no longer being able to be summoned by the Keyblade. Xehanort, powerless, falls to the Destiny Islands and lands somewhat safely on the sand. He looks on at the residual space that the exploding dragon had left behind and begins to speak.
This was your fate. Accept it. I shall see you soon, Demon King.
Xehanort falls over in exhaustion, but is not so tired that he passes out immediately. Instead, he lays down, awaiting his injuries to take his life. However, in the sky, something else is happening. As the demon dragon no longer remains in this world, the Demon King is no more as well. However, this would serve him well. All he would need to do is enact the cycle of reincarnation, as he did before this fight proper started, and bide his time. However, as his soul attempts to leave this dimension, it finds no purchase. He is stuck here too, just as Xehanort was.
What is the meaning of this? I'm stuck? This can't be.
The Demon King could not believe such a thing would happen to him, Yet again, just as he had gotten stuck in the Sacred Realm some lifetime ago, he was now stuck in this prison of a world. Without anywhere else to go, he floats back down toward the ground, unsure of what to do.
I am powerless. I am nothing.
He then sees somebody else on the distant horizon, a person who might be susceptible to his magic. All he would need to do would be to grant a deal to give them power, just as he did with Xant. However, the closer he got to the man, the more Ganondorf thought nothing he could say could rattle him. The man seemed staunchly focused on some sort of task, sitting down with one leg tucked under the other and one hand resting on his upright leg. He also appeared to be the same hue as Ganondorf, if not a bit more sickly green. Regardless, the Demon King knew that this man would not work as a pawn in his schemes. So, Ganondorf silently sat beside him and waited.
I will bide my time once more, it seems. I have not forgotten you or what you have done to me, Xehanort. I will have my revenge. I will show you true power.
Ganondorf then cackles to no one in particular. Not even the man right next to him can hear him as he bellows and guffaws. That fact did not deter the Demon King. In fact, it only strengthened his resolve. He would get his revenge on Xehanort and this world, even if it cost him everything. As Xehanort laid there on the Destiny Islands, he briefly regained his composure and stood back up, though he could barely do so with how tired his body had become. He gazed onward at the sea, now noticing some sort of floating island off in the distance. He thought to himself,
That was not here before. Is this truly the Destiny Islands? Or is it some kind of illusion built of memory? No matter. I will find my answers in time.
Xehanort then tries to summon the no-name Keyblade, but fails to do so, similarly to how he could not summon a Dark Corridor earlier.
It seems connections, as strong as they are, still have weaknesses.
Xehanort then walks towards the water, again gazing at the sky beyond.
This world is just too small.
As he says that, he hears some sort of footsteps behind him on the sand of the beach.
Who goes there?
Xehanort turns around to see a man dressed in gold, the outfit alien to anything he had ever seen before.
Ah, you must be of this world. This amalgamation of other worlds conjoined into one uniform reality. This island is where I was born. I was told I was something called the Child of Destiny. Only now do I see, destiny is a funny thing. To end my journey where it began, I wish that I could still fight on. I wish to rule, but that is not my place in this world. I see that now. I must leave it.
Xehanort then gets stabbed with the man in gold straight through the heart, leaving him bloodied on the ground, about to die.
I must leave it to you.
Xehanort then collapses on the ground, his body dissipating into light while his heart marches skyward to Kingdom Hearts. And so ends the tale of the Demon King and the Master of the Keyblade, both losing their corporeal forms and existing in a nebulous state. Such is the destiny of malice and darkness, and destiny is never left to chance.
Oh boy, what a long fucking episode. Hope you're all enjoying yourself here, because this was a lot of work to do. Let's rip off the band-aid, shall we? Who the fuck were those people in the separate endings? I can hear you crying through whatever you're watching this on. And I'll tell you, eventually, they're going to be important characters for the season going forward. And who knows? Both Ganondorf and Xehanort aren't technically gone, per se. They're just ghosts right now. Maybe they could show back up. Who knows? Who knows? Anyway, for stuff in the actual fight, I can see people getting a little confused with the whole dragon thing. So let me clarify. When Xehanort kills the demon dragon, he did not win anything. Part of what I want to do this season is have fights with no clearly defined winners and losers, and have the endings be little lore tidbits about what happens to the characters post-fight. The Keyblade itself was destroyed alongside the demon dragon. In my mind, that makes it an L for both Ganondorf and Xehanort. I guess it's a combined loss if you had to define it, but something you may have picked up with how I'm talking is that I'm going to be telling a continuous narrative throughout every single fight this season, with little sprinkles of hints of future stuff planted throughout. The main focus will still be on the characters themselves and having an engaging fight, but the fights will all fit into a grander story I have planned. Speaking of, I have a little something to show you all. I hope you enjoy this teaser for the future of Versus Universe. Thanks for watching, and... bye! A shadowy figure appears alongside a set of pillars, and, while their face is not revealed, they speak.
You have been here as well, to this new land. I wish to make this land greater, to achieve something far more than what this putrid place can be. Will you help me in that regard?
A second shadowy figure appears, their face also obscured.
I won't do anything for someone I barely know.
A fist then appears near the second figure's face, indicating a clear threat of violence.
Please, you're not nearly as strong as I am. Threatening me will only end in your doom.
Strength is relative. I could render you completely defenseless. Do you really want that?
Huh? No, I can't say I do.
I can only describe what brought us here as fate. Destinies intertwining and clashing spectacularly. You saw it just as well as I.
Oh, you must mean that dragon. Not used to seeing those explode.
It was his destiny, to face that bald-headed man and die in the process. I simply wish for you to find your fate as well.
You've lost me, I'm afraid. Even if fate were real, whoever would I have to fight?
The first figure then shows the second a photograph of a palace. The Palace of Escalating. And inside this palace is Meruem, the Chimera and King.
There is someone there. Someone like you in ways you've never seen before. Someone from a different world. Someone.
That I'll have to fight?
Yes. And then, both your fates will be sealed.
Well, my fate is to carry out a fight.
The second figure reveals himself to be Cell.
How perfect.